This lesson is the second installment of our coverage on recording within FL Studio. So in this tutorial, we're going to give a more in-depth look at the Edison audio editor and its recording capabilities. So the Edison is an audio recording editing plugin. While this lesson will cover its basic functionality, it's an extremely powerful tool within FL Studio, and every producer who has this software should be familiar with the Edison. Not only can it record outside audio, but it can record and edit sounds from within your DAW and give insights into that audio. So to use the Edison, what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to load it onto a mixer insert the same way that we would any plugin. So I'm going to use the F9 shortcut here, head on over to my favorite recording insert, insert 2, go right here, and then down at the bottom, at the top of the miscellaneous category, select the Edison. Additionally, if you want to edit something inside the Edison that already exists in FL Studio, you can just drag and drop it right into this window here, which is very convenient. So the Edison has some basic controls that you should be familiar with. These include the play and pause buttons, the tools menu, as well as the waveform display window. So the play and pause buttons, or play and stop might be a little more specific, are pretty self-explanatory, as is the record button. So to the right here, we have a drop-down menu as to when we're going to record. Now means as soon as you press the record button. On input is once there's a signal going into what you're using to record, so when your microphone picks up on a loud enough signal. And then on play is going to be when you actually hit the play button. Those are the three ones that you should be most familiar with. Next right here we have the tools menu, which gives us access to several useful tools that are what make the Edison so powerful. So examples of these are normalizing, declicking, time stretching, effects, and also the ability to render data to an audio clip from within the playlist. Finally, right here, we have the waveform display window, which holds the visual representation of the audio recorded into the Edison. So I have a special setting activated on my Edison that gives audio a little bit more color and helps me edit a recording better. So you'll see what this looks like in a minute. But if you want to activate this on your version, what you're going to do is right-click on the waveform display, hover over View, and then check off Spectrum right here. See how mine's checked? So not only can we record into the Edison, but we can also drag and drop audio samples, like I said, but we can do that also just by clicking and then loading a sample. So we'll get something in there now, and then we can start looking at how my display, I think, helps me edit better and what the Edison can actually do. We're going to review three ways that you can use the Edison to record. So the first way is to record straight into the Edison from an external source, like a microphone. To begin this process, let's select the appropriate insert for our Edison to be held, which we already did here on the mixer on insert 2. We're then going to make sure that our microphone, our input device, is properly selected. Again, I can't do this on here because I'm also recording into the video you're watching, but you'd want to click that microphone. Once you've done that, we're going to go up here to the Edison and try to select something that we think is appropriate for when we want recording to start. I'm going to choose on input. Finally, when we're ready, we're going to press the record button and then speak into the Edison or record whatever it is that we want going in. When we're done, we're going to press the stop button here, and then we're going to click this little mute button up here to mute our microphone so that we don't have that constant sound going back into FL Studio and into our headphones. For good measure, what we can also do is mute the insert that we have our Edison on so that we don't have any signal coming in from the microphone and possibly creating feedback. So I just recorded myself going into the Edison singing Happy Birthday. So let's give it a listen by pressing the spacebar. Happy birthday to you. Pardon my horrible singing voice, but this is something that we're going to be using to demonstrate the power of the Edison. So part of what makes that so powerful is its ability to select specific regions of audio data and edit those regions. With the sample that we just made, let's hold down either Control on a PC or Command on a Mac, and we can click and drag to highlight a specific part of the Edison. I'm also going to detach the Edison now so that you can see it fully. Now what we're going to do is we're going to click on the loop function, which means that we're going to have this specific piece of selected audio data looped again and again, which will help us in editing so that we can immediately hear what we've selected. To select a new region that's highlighted, we're going to make sure that our snap settings are snapped to regions 2 here, and we can left click on either side to move what we've selected. We can also make an entirely new selection by using that shortcut we had before, holding Command or Control and left clicking. As you can see, when I play, I can change exactly what I'm highlighting and hear in real time exactly how my selection is different. Let's examine a second recording technique that the Edison has. If I want to externally record something that's meant to play during a specific part of the playlist, I'm now going to switch the Edison's recording option to on play and highlight a loop in my playlist with the command plus left click on the time bar shortcut. So I'll demonstrate that now. We pull up the playlist, and let's say that I wanted to record to right in here. I highlight it, and now this allows me to have multiple takes of what I'm recording into. So let's go ahead and see what that looks like. Now what I'm going to do is press the record button, and when I'm ready to start recording, I press play in the full FL Studio playhead, and then it will start recording multiple takes. Again, I'm going to do this off screen, and we'll get right back to you, and we can show exactly what this looks like. So as you can see now, I have these two takes that I just recorded that line up perfectly with this part of the playlist. This is similar to the technique that we showed in the last video, which you can use for getting multiple takes to fit something into a song. So let's get off of recording now, and let's give this a listen. Here I am recording straight into the Edison, and this is a test to demonstrate how we can have multiple takes. So as you can see, these two takes are outlined by the song jump, right? And that's extra helpful for when you want to select exactly what it is that you want to go straight into the playlist, or to manipulate, and you can choose the take that you think is best. Let's say that we want to record something that's already inside of FL Studio into the Edison. So we'd repeat a very similar recording process to the one that we just followed, except we would 1. Place the Edison on the insert of the sound that we want to record, and 2. Press play on the playlist or channel to begin feeding that sound into the Edison. To get this process rolling, let's go to the track that we have our audio data in, track mode, audio track, and then we're going to send it to insert 3. Now we're going to close out of this Edison, and actually to save some CPU, we're going to get rid of it altogether by deleting it. And now that that Edison's gone, let's go back over to track 3 and put a new Edison on there. Now that we have this new Edison, let's set it up like we just did for on play and press the record function here to get it ready. Let's double check that our mixer is doing what we want. It has the Edison, and this should be sending to it. We're going to hit play here and see what happens. Here I am recording straight into the Edison, and this is here. Now let's pull up our Edison, and we can see that the audio from our playlist has now been recorded back into the Edison. A somewhat hidden benefit to doing this is that this is a great way to reduce your CPU usage, especially when your projects get bigger. The reason that this is the case is because you might have some very complicated MIDI information or a synth or some kind of a plugin running on a sound that comes out of a track or on a channel, and that makes your CPU very much overloaded. Instead, to try and fix this, by reverting it into just an audio data rather than being MIDI data with all the add-ons that might come with it and the plugins, now you just have a sound wave that you're playing that plays the exact same sound but takes up a fraction of the CPU. So if you find that your CPU is really getting hammered, what you should do is record that sound into the Edison and then put it back into the playlist as nothing more than an audio track. You'll lose some ability to edit it, but as long as you're happy with the sound before you do this, you're going to save your computer and save your ability to work quickly in a project. All of this being said, up until now we've used the Edison essentially the same way as our other recording methods. So let's start by using it for actual audio editing rather than just recording. Here we already have a recording, so this one will do fine for demonstration purposes. If you highlight a piece of recording that you want, like this, then we can edit that specific region directly. So getting a precise cut is difficult. Let's give a listen to what we have. Straight and sting. Straight into the Edison. Okay, so now we're going to want a little more. Straight into the Edison. While this sounds good, it's not entirely precise. So we can zoom in to see exactly what we're doing, and by having this spectrum view on, we have an easier time seeing exactly where the audio stops and starts. Straight into the Edison. Clearly here, this little bit of color is the N in Edison. Straight Edison straight. By zooming, we can get a much cleaner cut and then edit more properly. Let's say that we wanted to do some more intense cutting of the sound. We're going to go here to our slice tool. We're also going to want to make sure that we have medium auto slicing on. What this does is it gives us markers that allow us to quickly see different parts of our audio, and then we can listen to them. The truth is, the slicing tool is pretty coarse. It's not always going to capture exactly what you want, especially in spoken word. But it could be a nice way to try and speed up your workflow and get the pieces that you do want. This works really well with instruments that are playing single notes. Let's say that we made a mistake in the Edison, or we want to return to a previous state. We can use the Command or Control plus Z button, but instead we can also go here to our Undo button. If we right click on it, we can see a far back catalog of all of the edits that we made. So we can undo to something not just that we did before, but a few actions ago. This is super, super helpful. Another incredible tool inside of the Edison is the denoising option. When you listen to a sample and you hear that buzzing at the beginning, maybe a click or a pop before the actual audio that you want begins, that's noise. To get rid of that, we can press this button here to trim the noise from the beginning and end of our audio clip so that we don't have those undesirable sounds. Lastly, let's talk about the following buttons: the fade in and declick in and the fade out and declick out buttons. A fade can be put onto the region of a clip to slowly increase or decrease its volume. It's an effect that you can really feel when it's present, as the volume undergoes a noticeable shift. My favorite part, though, is the declicking tool, because it's a godsend for externally recorded audio. If you haven't noticed, when you cut off the end of an audio clip or the beginning, the sound can become really harsh and the listener becomes aware that the audio recording has been cut out. So to prevent this, rather than use a fade, which would be obvious, we apply declicking. Let's think of declicking as a tiny fade right at the end or beginning of an audio clip that brings a signal up or down to zero a lot smoother than a sudden stop. So this eliminates any clicking or distortion that might happen at the very beginning or end of a clip. To apply declicking, we're going to go to the Tools button here, and then we're going to go underneath Amp, and we can apply declicking in or out to whatever selection we've made in the Edison. If we go back to the Tools menu one last time, then you can see that the Edison offers tons of other functionality, like the ability to reverse sound, add reverb, and create lots of other effects. So we don't have time to delve into these features now, but they're just more reasons to love the Edison. So before we go, it's worth noting that of all of our lessons so far, this was definitely the least immediately applicable to a beginner. But it is crucial that we all become familiar with the Edison now, because it's going to be more and more important as we become more well versed in FL Studio. That's all we have for today, and we look forward to seeing you on the next lesson. This is Mirium Music, signing off.